Welcome to my astrology video for the month of September. And I'm Penny Dix, and also known as Planetary Penny, and I'm an astrologer and a life coach. So I'm going to talk you through the general overview, first of all, of the month of September, and then we'll look at all your individual signs. And if you know your ascendant as well, do check that out. Okay, so I'm going to focus first of all on Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter, because the big boys, as I call them, are still in Capricorn, and they've all been retrograde. Now, some of those things change this month, which is really good news, actually. And but first of all, I want to talk about the fact that both Saturn and Pluto are virtually back at the degree they were at in January, which was the kind of significantly powerful astrological event that has set the tone for the whole of this year. And we know what that was about. We know that that has been to do with the whole world having to go into a major lockdown because of this pandemic caused by the coronavirus. So let me explain a bit more about that, because both Pluto and Saturn are back at that angle. Now, Jupiter has also gone over that degree, and we will have seen flare-ups over the last few months of the events that were set in place by the January conjunction. Now, the fact that Saturn and Pluto are virtually conjunct again in Capricorn at 22 degrees, Saturn is actually at 23 degrees, means that this is the final time they are at this kind of exact point. And there's something very powerful about these points, because my sense about what Pluto and Saturn are saying this time is, I'm going to give you a chance to do things differently this time. Because I think we can all see that Saturn and Pluto have really put us all through the ringer in various ways and different areas of our lives, depending on where they fall in your particular chart. And if you want to know more about that, please, you just need to book a session with me, and I can really help you get the maximum benefit out of your chart. But let's talk about the fact that Saturn is going to go direct on the 29th of September. So we've still got a little bit more to wait, but when Saturn goes direct, and Pluto will be at this 22 degree point, Jupiter is also going direct on the 13th, and it's gone way back to 17 degrees. Now, what does this all mean, you want to know? I think what it means is we're going to see a flare-up of the situations that were around in January and February, unfortunately. But this is giving us a chance to treat it differently. This is giving us the opportunity to kind of nip it in the bud and make it different for all of us this time. And I do feel that it is so important to listen to the directives that these planets give us, because Pluto is about transformation. And when these planets are done with a sign, they do try to give us some kind of bonus positive outlook. And Saturn, when Saturn goes direct on the 29th, really wants to give us the opportunity to have learnt and to now do things differently. Now, whatever that area of your life that has been most affected by this transit, you will know what that area is. That's the area you need to be paying attention to and actually working on to transform, and to put the structures in place that Saturn represents. Saturn is a hard taskmaster, and Saturn has been tough on all of us this year, but we can grow from it, because what Saturn wants to give us is the gold, the sort of the alchemical gold at the bottom of the sort of the muddy pond. And so if we've learnt the lessons that Saturn has been imposing on all of us, we get the transformation that Pluto also wants us to have. So, this is super important this month. And I think in general terms in the world, It's like governments are being given a chance to do things differently, to just, they can see where they've gone wrong in the past with this whole virus situation in not getting it working well. And so it's a chance for major powers to actually try and address this in a different way, so that both Saturn and Jupiter, when they leave Capricorn, can leave with some kind of benefit, leave us with some kind of gift. Now, I'll be mentioning more about this in your individual signs, which I'm going to come to now. So for now, thank you for watching this part of the video. And if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be really pleased if you could do that. It would be great. And also then you'll get to know when more videos that I'm putting out are coming out. So in the meantime, I wish you well. And if you want to go to my website, you'll see it in the description box at the end of this video. Thank you so much. And now for the individual signs. Okay. Hey, Aries, welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Aries or for the Ascendant in Aries. So, the 10th house for you is where all the major activity has been happening. The 10th house is your career and your work. And it's a Capricorn house, and you've got the big boys there, Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter. So what does this all mean? Well, I'm sure you will have seen over the last few years how your whole working life career has changed, and your kind of public image in the world will have changed. People will have seen you in a new light, in a sense, to do with what you bring to the world. Now, both Saturn and Pluto are going to be almost conjunct again at the same degree they were at in January. Now, this is quite big news because I want you to think about what was going on for you in January. Because if something wasn't kind of finalized or things were set in motion that have never really resolved, then my sense is that the coming together of these two planets again will actually bring some kind of resolution to this issue. And it may be, you know, you started a job, left a job, you're changing career, you're doing something different, changing direction. We've also got to look at the fact that Jupiter is there, and Jupiter also goes direct this month on the 13th. Now, Jupiter's going to go back over all these points that Saturn and Pluto have touched. And Jupiter will kind of sprinkle his kind of magic dust. Jupiter is the planet of good fortune and luck. But we have to remember he expands everything he touches. That can also be not so good if you've not been really working hard in trying to get this area of your life in place. If you haven't, if you've not really addressed certain issues to do with your career that you should have done, then Jupiter will make it very obvious to you what you need to be paying attention to. And often what happens is these big boys, they create events in the external world to make us deal with it. Whereas if we've dealt with it willingly, then in that case, we just move on, we move forward. But so let's now though go to the full moon and the new moon that are happening this month, because you have a full moon in your 12th house on the 2nd of September in Pisces. Now, Pisces traditionally rules the 12th house, and the 12th house is about your inner psyche, it's about your intuition, it's about these, you know, it's ruled by Neptune, so it's about very much your psychic side and your gut feelings. And this full moon for me, coming in your 12th house, is like it's revelations. I wonder whether you will be having aha moments about your inner world and your own psyche. Maybe you've been doing work on yourself, and so this would be a good time to kind of really look back and think, gosh, haven't I come a long way? And I think we also have to look at the fact that Uranus, that made such a difficult aspect to the full moon in August, where it squared it, and we saw what happened over the next 2 weeks. We had awful events and disruptions and explosions and civil unrest. And unfortunately, when Uranus is badly aspected, it can create these kind of external events. This time, you'll be glad to know, Uranus is sextiling the full moon, which is a very gentle aspect. So of course that means that it's actually going to be any surprises you get or sort of inspiration you get, because Uranus can also be inspirational. Then I think you will be feeling very inspired on some kind of inner level. And let's also, and also that's trined nicely, that full moon, by Jupiter. So it's a good full moon for you in your 12th house. I think you're really going to feel that you understand yourself a lot better. And I think people will see the changes in you. So let's look at the new moon, which is in your 6th house. And that's coming on the 17th. So on the 17th of September, there's a new moon in Virgo in your 6th house. Well, the 6th house is very much about day-to-day work. It's about health, service to others. So I think this new moon, because it's about attention to detail, this new moon is actually giving you opportunities to maybe get your working life sort of in a slightly better, sort of more organized, more structured, so that you feel more comfortable. And it may be that you're also, you know, the new moon could mean that you decide to do some voluntary work, because the 6th house can be about that. And, you know, somehow when we honor the energies of these houses, so if you honor the energy of the 6th house and its traditional kind of emphasis towards service, we reap a lot of reward from that. So it's always a good thing to, you know, you may decide to donate to a charity. Those are the kind of things that can be represented by the 6th house, and the new moon there really giving weight to that. So on that note, I want to really wish you a lovely month, Aries. If you've not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super thrilled if you could do that. Thank you. And if you would like a one-to-one for astrology or for life coaching, my website address is just underneath this video, and I will look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much, Aries. Bye for now. Hey, Taurus. Welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Taurus or for the Ascendant in Taurus. So let's see what the big boys have been up to whilst they've been traversing your 9th house for the last few years of travel and higher learning. So, well, I want you to think back to what was going on for you in January, because both Saturn and Pluto, Saturn being about structure and learning and teaching, and Pluto being about transformation, they're going to actually be very closely lined up again together. And, you know, this was just pre-global lockdown. So I'm not suggesting you're going to get the same thing again, but whatever was happening for you personally around learning, teaching, or maybe you're a teacher, you know, there may have to be different rules set in place to honour the work that you do. It can also be about travel, long distance travel, if it's not physical travel, because, you know, that's at the moment doesn't seem to be very possible. It can be travel of the inner kind, you know, inner journeys, inner soul journeys. And I think the fact that they are, you know, Saturn is going direct this month, which is great news. Saturn goes direct on the 29th. And that's going to be super fun for you, Taurus, because he's going to be moving into Aquarius at the end of the year and into your 10th house of career. And that's really going to give a boost to your career. Now, Pluto will stay in your 9th house for quite a while longer. So he's still bringing in this energy of transformation for you on you know, to do with how you may have learned something. I suspect you've learned quite a lot, Taurus. If you've done any courses or Open University or a degree or a doctorate or whatever else, written something, that you will have actually sort of be benefiting greatly from that, Taurus. And I do feel that, you know, because you've got Uranus in your first house, Taurus, that people are experiencing you in quite a sort of innovative way. They're seeing that they're, you know, this fixed, rigid kind of very, you know, I do it this way kind of Taurian energy is actually kind of being a little bit more kind of fluid. So quite interesting, and certainly giving a lot more thought to the way you structure things in your life. Now, Jupiter is also going direct this month, Taurus. So Jupiter in your 9th house is going direct on the 13th, yes, and he's going to be moving back over all these points in Capricorn in your 9th house, kind of sprinkling his magic kind of luck. And I think what's good about this is that you're really going to start reaping the rewards of whatever you set in place in January. I think it's going to see that the sort of the fruits of your labours will start to show. Now, also, if with this energy, it's not been worked with in a constructive way for you, Taurus, then events that are external will happen to kind of nudge you to really tweak the small stuff and set in place what it is you know, maybe you're going to start teaching. Maybe you're teaching a subject that you're passionate about. I just also want to mention the fact that, you know, when Saturn and Jupiter leave Capricorn at the end of the year, they because this is their final movement, they're moving out. They've done what they need to do in Capricorn in your 9th house. So what they're doing now is they will, if you've done the right work, they leave you with a gift. They, you know, these planets, they do respect the fact that we work with them. And so there will be some kind of benefit that they will leave you with. Now let's just come on quickly to the full moon and the new moon for you this month, because the full moon is going to be in your 11th house of hopes and dreams and wishes in Pisces, and this is nicely sextiled by Uranus, which is a kind aspect. We had a square for the August full moon, which caused all sorts of disruption. And for you, with it in your 11th house, I think what we're going to see is maybe a sense of being able to know more clearly about how you see yourself in larger kind of friend groups, that you have some more kind of standing in these friend groups. I also think that if you have been hoping or wishing for something to manifest, this full moon could bring that, because it's also nicely trined by Jupiter. And then just moving quickly on to the new moon in your 5th house, and that's on the 17th, and it's full of creativity and play. And I wonder if you're going to be able to sit back a bit, Taurus, and just actually enjoy the fruits of your labours, because, you know, the 9th house tells me with these big boys there, you've been working really hard, Taurus. And I think the new moon is saying, just enjoy a couple of weeks of just sow your seeds, have fun with friends, have fun with romantic partners, and fun with children. And, you know, you'll feel creative, and you may even start to create some new project that you want to initiate. So listen, Taurus, super month ahead. And thank you so much for coming to watch this. And if you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, that would be really super kind if you could. Also, if you would like a one-to-one for astrology or life coaching, then my website address is just underneath this video. Thank you so much, and I will see you next month. Bye for now, Taurus. Hey, Gemini, welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Gemini or the Ascendant in Gemini. So let's go straight to your 8th house. The 8th house is about transformation. It's also about sexuality and other people's money, and it can be inheritance. It's a very transformative house. And you've had Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter there for quite a while. And they've certainly been putting you through the ringer in terms of joint finances and trying to get all those things kind of sorted out. And what I want to say is, try and think back to January and what was happening for you in January, because both Saturn and Pluto are going to be virtually back to the same degree they were at in January in Capricorn, in your 8th house. Now, Saturn is about rules and boundaries and structure. Capricorn is about establishment, it's about governments. So you have to kind of see the metaphor of this in your own life connected with these areas of transformation. And Pluto is about transformation. And Jupiter's also been there. So first of all, whatever was going on for you in January, you've got kind of like a last chance to get that really tweaked now. So if it's something to do with other people's money or joint investments, here's your opportunity to really get that sorted out. Because when Saturn finally goes direct on the 29th of September, thank goodness, and Jupiter will also go direct on the 13th of September. So then the focus is going to start shifting, and these slowdowns and blockages that we've all experienced will just show a sign of changing. Now, when Saturn and Jupiter leave this sign, they will leave you with some kind of benefit, assuming you've done what Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter have been asking you to do. Only you can know whether you've addressed this particular area of your life in the right way or the best way for you. Jupiter's going to go back, or rather go forward again, over various points where Saturn and Pluto have been, and it's like that triggers it off. And so Jupiter will be just shedding a little bit of luck as he moves along. And so I think you will really be able to turn your attention to rather more higher thinking and other matters by the end of the year, when Saturn and Jupiter finally move into your 9th house of travel and higher learning. I also just want to say that Mars at the moment, retrograde in Aries in your 11th house, is making a difficult aspect to both Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter. So just watch out for that you don't kind of lose your temper or get frustrated with people. I mean, sometimes obviously points have got to be put across, but try and use some energy from your Gemini nature, which is ruled by Mercury, which is all about good conversation and good communication. So try and use a little bit of that thought when you start to approach these matters. Now, let's just look at the full moon and the new moon for you this month, because the full moon is going to be falling in your 10th house of business and career and your status and your standing in the world. Now, the full moon brings together, it brings something to some kind of conclusion, some kind of fruition. You see the results of something you've set in place, and it's in Pisces. So it's a bit like there was something you've been intuitively working on that is now bearing fruit. And so, you know, you've also been able to work, Gemini, with this gut instinct, with this intuitive part of you that has been able to actually kind of, you've given birth to it through Uranus in your 12th sign. In your 12th house, because Uranus has started to wake you up on this area of your psyche, which is about you really tuning into your gut instinct and intuition. And this full moon, however, in your 10th house of career is fortunately sextiled by Uranus, whereas the full moon in August, which caused a lot of chaos and a lot of disruption, and, you know, civil unrest for a couple of weeks after the full moon, which was a difficult square from Uranus. This is a sextile, which means that you know, any surprises are going to be fortunate ones. So that for sure is a good thing. And then we need to look at the new moon, which is going to be in your home, in your house of home, your 4th house. And I wonder whether you're going to be able to sort of sit back and think, I've arrived, because it feels to me like you're sort of making some new plans and new ideas about the home. I think you've probably been through a bit of kind of change in that regard. And I suspect now, Gemini, you're able to actually kind of start seeing that there are new areas of your home life and your family and your sort of nearest and dearest that you can actually start focusing on them a bit with this new moon. And the new moon is on the 17th, and it's trined by Saturn and Pluto. So that's a really helpful aspect coming from the Capricorn boys. So I want to thank you so much for joining me. If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super pleased if you could do it. Also, if you'd like a one-to-one for astrology or life coaching, my website address is just underneath this video. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next month. Bye. Hey Cancer, welcome to your September astrology for either the Sun in Cancer or for the Ascendant in Cancer. So, light at the end of the tunnel? I think so. This is quite an interesting month, and I think we're starting to see the whole tide turn. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to focus first of all on your 7th house of relationships and significant people in your life, like your one and only soulmate partner. It's the person that really you want to be with. Now, you've had over the last few years, as you know, lots of activity going on there because it's a Capricorn house for you, which is about structure and stability. And you've had Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter all doing their stuff there and making life pretty unpredictable and difficult for you and causing ruptures, breaks, difficulties. Also, there will have been some good things happening because there's the other side to that, which can be that you would have had sort of really wonderful personal transformations with your significant relationships. But let's look at what's different this month, because this month, both Saturn and Pluto are virtually conjunct at the degree they were at in January. Now, what does this mean? Well, basically, this means that whatever was going on for you with relationships in January, I think now you can start to expect some kind of resolution to that. So if there were problems or decisions that had to be made or big changes that had sort of been thrust upon you, either by events in the world, but this will be a time over the next month when you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel with regard to relationships. Because Saturn goes direct on the 29th. And he will now make his passage out of Capricorn, out of your 7th house, and will be in your 8th house by the end of the year. But we'll come to that then. You've also got Jupiter in there, and Jupiter is also going to go direct, and Jupiter goes direct on the 13th of September. So Jupiter will also be expanding and really bringing some positivity into your significant relationships. But a word of caution, if they've not been going well and you're not addressing it, because Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn want you to address the issues and problems so the relationship can transform, Jupiter can exaggerate that or expand it, because remember, Jupiter is about expansion. It's also, so it can expand what's not so good as well. So make sure that you are using this energy in a very constructive way and in a way that benefits all. Now, let's look at the full moon, because the full moon this month is on the 2nd of September. So we start off the new month with a full moon, and it's in Pisces in your 9th house. Now, this is going to be a lot easier for all of us, this particular full moon, because if you remember back to the full moon we had in August, it had a very difficult, harsh angle from the planet Uranus, and we saw lots of upsets and shocks and, just great difficulties, civil unrest, etc. In the 2 weeks that followed that full moon. So what I want to say is that this one is still aspected by Uranus, the planet of shock and unexpected surprises and just revolution, but it's a kind aspect. So as it's a kind aspect, I think hopefully the shocks or the revelations you may get in the 9th house will actually be really rather interesting and could be very good for you, because it's also has a very good helpful trining aspect from Jupiter in Capricorn. So I just feel that with regard to you digging deep down into your sort of soul and psyche to really understand yourself well, there's going to be quite a lot of, the 9th house is about sort of higher learning. So I think you're going to have some aha moments, and you may be surprising not only yourself, but others too. So, and then let's just look at the new moon that happens on the 17th in Virgo in your 3rd house. And of course, that's also gives extra sort of impetus, if you like, to starting new things and maybe learning something and maybe doing something that is on the level of self-development, so that you get to know yourself really well. Because just going back to the full moon, because Uranus is involved in that full moon in a nice aspect. Uranus is also the planet of astrology. Maybe some of you Cancerians will be thinking you want to look into astrology a bit more and just understand it better, even if it's just your own chart. But the new moon also is well aspected by Saturn and Pluto in your 3rd house. So that is going to be helpful. And it will be a good time to sow the seeds for new areas that you want to sort of set in place to do with communication. It's a good time to maybe, if you've got to sign a contract, it would be a good time to do that because it's the 3rd house. So it's a good new moon for you. And then there are a lot of other things going on, but these are the main ones that I really wanted to focus on for you today, Cancer. And so for now, I want to wish you a really beautiful September. And I want to say, if you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I really would be super pleased if you could do that, because then you'll get notifications of new videos when they come out. And if you'd like a one-to-one for astrology or for life coaching, my website address is just at the bottom here, and you can contact me. Thank you so much. Bye for now. Bye, Cancer. Hey, Leo. Welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Leo or for the Ascendant in Leo. Okay, so this month we have still a focus on your 6th house, which is Capricorn, and that's to do with work, day-to-day work, health, service to others, and you've had to sort of really address lots of probably niggling health issues over the last few years. And you've also probably been making changes in your working life and maybe initiating new projects, but there'll have been quite a lot of activity in this general department. And with Saturn and Pluto coming back to the same degree they were at virtually in January, you need to think back to what you were actually setting in place in January to do with health and to do with work. Now, if you've kind of let them fall by the wayside or not perhaps paid enough attention to these areas, you're being given a final opportunity by Saturn and Pluto to kind of tweak the small stuff and actually get this working a bit better this time. So, if it's diet or health, things you've just been neglecting, this really is an opportunity to get them sorted out so that Saturn, when he leaves on the 29th, and finally goes direct, will actually reward you. And I think that reward may come via the full moon in the 8th house of Pisces. So what do I mean by that? Well, I actually think that because the 8th house is about transformation, it can be about other people's money or joint finances. And it's Pisces, so it's also about inner work. It's about our ability to be quite psychic when we want to. And I'm just wondering, because Uranus, who was also in play when we had the full moon in August in Aquarius, and that was a difficult angle, that was a square, and so we saw what havoc Uranus sadly caused over the next couple of weeks after that full moon. And really, with him in this full moon, he is making a very kindly aspect. So it's gentle. So surprises of, even if it's the inner transformational kind, will be positive, because it's also tried by Jupiter in Capricorn. And Jupiter enlarges, and it's also the planet of luck. And I just feel there is something fortunate about this full moon for you. So I don't know, maybe unexpected money, unexpected windfall, but it feels interesting. But let's also look at what's going on in your second house of finance, because it's Virgo for you, and we have a new moon there on the 17th. And this is also nicely got a very nice aspect from Pluto and, Saturn and Pluto. It's got a very nice aspect from Saturn and Pluto. And so, again, this feels like if you want to sort of sow the seeds for investments, and maybe you're looking at the world stage and you're looking at the world finances and you're thinking buy gold. I mean, after all, Leo is a sun sign. It's probably metal is probably gold, and gold seems to have been doing very well. So there you are, a little tip from Planetary Penny: buy gold. But I think gold is always a good bet in all seriousness. We also need to look at what else is going on, because Mars, of course, goes retrograde in Aries on the 9th this month. And he will be going retrograde in Aries in your 9th house, for the next few months, actually. And so this really is that if there are areas that you have been looking at in terms of learning, so because this is about higher learning for you, it's also about travel, but we know there are restrictions with travel, but it may be that you have been making plans to travel with Mars, because Mars wants to go. Mars is a planet of action, but he's retrograde, so you may find some niggling delays and maybe niggling cancellations. So if anything, I would use this Mars energy to focus on your higher learning and spend the time doing an open university course, or just, I don't know, just taking up a new subject that you're really passionate about and learning it, Leo. So also, we have to just sort of mention that Uranus, of course, is retrograde in your 10th house of work and your standing in the world. So for you, any areas of your life which are to do with your work and your career and your professional standing, you're getting a chance here to, again, sort of do maybe some tweaking and change things a bit and rearrange and maybe re-look at certain decisions you've made that have perhaps been maybe knee-jerk, and they maybe needed to sort of be smoothed over, but use this Uranus energy in a good constructive way, and Uranus will be very, very helpful to you. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much for watching your Leo September astrology. If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super pleased if you could, because then you'll get all the updates as to when I've uploaded new videos. And also, if you would like a one-to-one for astrology or for life coaching, please visit my website in the description box underneath this video. For now, Leo, I wish you a lovely September. Thank you. Bye for now. Hey, Virgo, welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Virgo or for the Ascendant in Virgo. So I'm going to start by looking at my big boys, Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter, that have been residing in your 5th house of creativity, children and romantic relationships for quite a while now. And Saturn and Pluto are going to be virtually back to the same place they were at in January. So why is this relevant? Well, I want you to try and think about what was going on for you in your relationships and in your sort of, certainly to do with creative projects in January. Because Saturn and Pluto are making this final kind of loose connection in your 5th house. And when they do this, they always try and bring some kind of reward, some blessing. So, you know, maybe you've been working on something, Virgo, that you really need to actually go, enough is enough. I've done all I can do. This is it. It's ready. Or it may be that if it's with a, you know, if you've met a new romance in January and been enjoying a kind of an interesting relationship, maybe even at a distance because of all the restrictions we have with travel, that you're able to finally make it a little bit more concrete. And so, and actually that we've got to look at the fact that Saturn does go direct this month. It goes direct on the 29th. And so Saturn, when he leaves a sign, really, if you've learnt the lesson that Saturn is teaching you about in the particular area of your chart that is affected, and for you, Virgo, it is about creativity, children, and fun and play. Now, if you've learnt that lesson, Saturn will give you some kind of reward, some kind of benefit. It may be in how you see things. It may be how you view things. It may be that you realise it's time to just put something to bed now and launch it out, because we have a full moon on the 2nd in Pisces in your 7th house of significant relationships. Now, the last full moon we had in August was quite tricky because Uranus, the planet of the unexpected and revolution and revelation, was making a very difficult aspect to that full moon. But this time Uranus is still part of the equation, but he's making a nicer aspect. He's sextiling it. So that is helpful, so that if there are any sort of revelations or changes that you need to make with your significant relationships, they will be positive, and with Uranus kindly aspected, any surprises that get thrown into the works won't be too difficult to manage. You might actually be quite happy about them. But let's also look at the fact that Jupiter also trines that full moon in Pisces, and so that also brings in some luck and some good fortune. So then we need to look to your 1st house, Virgo, where we have the new moon, because the new moon is there on the 17th of September. Now, that's going to be really nice because that is also very nicely trined, which is a nice aspect, by Saturn and Pluto. So you can see how these things all start to kind of weave together, because for you, this is all kind of forming around relationships and maybe making changes, setting new ways to do things, setting new boundaries. But, you know, it's pulling in the energy of your 7th house with the full moon. It's pulling in the energy of your 5th house, creativity and children, and your 1st house, which is all about you. It's about yourself. It's about how you come across to the world. And, you know, we have to look at the fact that, you know, Mercury is there. And although Mercury moves into Libra on the 6th, the energy is around. So there's been this there's a lot of talking going on. There's going to be a lot of communication. But we must just also look at Mars that goes retrograde on the 9th in Aries, because this is in your 8th house of transformation. And Mars is making quite a difficult aspect to the big boys down in your 5th house. So you've got Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter, and he's making a bit of a challenging aspect. So for me, this feels like you've got to sort of, you're going to have to be quite revolutionary about how you move forward with joint finances. You may have quite a lot to say about it because Mars is in the area. It's going to occupy the area of joint finances for the next few months. So you may have quite a lot of sort of thoughts about that. And Virgo, you're so good at figures, you're so good at accounting and auditing, that, you know, if you feel there is something significant you need to tweak and change in your kind of, you know, with your sort of money pot, then, you know, I think your nearest and dearest have to trust you on that, because I think you have a keen eye for it. So on that note, I want to say thank you so much, Virgo, for joining me. I do think it's going to be a better month. I think it's going to be an exciting month. And if you would like a one-to-one with me for astrology or life coaching, my website address is underneath this video. And also, if you've not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd really be super happy if you could do that. Then you get the notifications when I post new things. So thank you for now, Virgo, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Hey Libra, welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Libra or for the Ascendant in Libra. So, your fourth house has seen quite a lot of activity. This is your house of the home. It's family, it's ancestral roots, it's all the obligations we have to all of our family. And it's Capricorn for you. And you've had these great big boys, these major players in this part of your chart for nearly 3 years. And Saturn and Pluto are going to be nearly back to the same position they were at the beginning of January. Now, why is that significant? Well, I think you have to think back to what was going on for you throughout the month of January and just a little bit after, because whatever was going on for you in the home, you have a chance now to finally kind of put that to bed, to put it to rest. If you haven't made necessary moves, decisions, then really they need to be kind of addressed now, because Saturn is going direct on the 29th of this month. So you've still got a bit longer, but this is like, get a move on, because Jupiter is going direct on the 13th. So he's going to come, you know, hot on the heels of Pluto and Saturn, urging you to make some quick decisions about what goes on at home, and also about how you're relating to your family and parents. And there's been a lot of change for you in these areas, Libra. So let's now move on to looking at the full moon that we have on the 2nd of September, which is in Pisces in your 6th house. So for you, this is all about your health. It's also about everyday work, service to others. And because it's Pisces, I always see that as a bit kind of inner work. So if there's been areas of your life, maybe you've needed to turn into your inner world, to give some attention to your inner world, because Librans tend to want to make sure everything is where it needs to be. Librans like order, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because you're very good at doing all the things that need order and can stick to time limits. But because you've got the full moon there, it's like something coming to completion, something coming to fruition. Now, because Uranus is actually making a good aspect to this full moon, it's sextiling it, that tells me that actually any aha moments or unexpected insights that you get are really valuable, and you need to pay attention to them, even if it's a kind of an intuitive feeling, because Librans aren't always great at listening to their intuition, but this is telling you, listen to it, because it'll be spot on. And let's move on to talking about that, the 12th house, because we have a new moon there on the 17th. And, you know, that's interesting because it's Virgo. And Virgo, of course, is, like you, attention to detail. Things have got to be in their correct place. And thank goodness we have people like you in the world, because otherwise, what a mess we'd all be in. But with the new moon there, I just think you'll be gaining some new insight as well. I think where you've perhaps in the past found it difficult to always trust your gut feeling or your intuition, I just feel that this new moon and the full moon is really going to somehow nudge you a bit to being able to do that. And that's really, really good for you, Libra. Now let's also just look quickly at the fact that Mars in your 7th house is going retrograde, and he's going retrograde on the 9th. And it's your 7th house of significant relationships. And so I suspect because it's Aries, you're going to be quite directive with your significant other about how things are going to be sorted for, say, the next 6 months. Because I think, you know, Libra likes to know what it's doing and where it's going, and there's nothing wrong with that. We do need one of the signs to know what it's doing and where it's going. And I think you need to tweak things with your significant other and make sure you're both on the same page, basically, because your partner may be thinking one thing and suggesting one course of action, and you may be doing the opposite. So I think it's about finding some compromise there. And that's where your gut instinct comes in, because your gut instinct that's coming with that new moon on the 17th is actually saying, just listen to your intuition, because you know what? It's probably right. On that note, I'm going to leave you for now, Libra. I really wish you a lovely September. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, I'd really be super pleased if you could. That would be great. Also, if you'd like a one-to-one with me for astrology or life coaching, my website address is in the little window at the bottom of this video. And in the meantime, I wish you a great September, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, Libra. Hey, Scorpio. Welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Scorpio or for the Ascendant in Scorpio. So, light at the end of the tunnel. Well, let's see, Scorpio. I think so. Okay. Your 3rd house is where you've had a lot of the action going on in the last few years. And this has been to do with documents and papers and communication and just lots of maybe disputes with neighbours or disputes with people, but also hopefully some good communication. But what Saturn and Pluto have really been asking you to do, Scorpio, in this house is to actually find different and better ways for your communication, to be more clear about your communication. Because if you think about it, Capricorn is a sign of clarity. It's a sign of structure. So it really feels to me that if you've not got your point across yet, then maybe you haven't found the fire in your belly to put your point across, if that's what's needed to have happened. And I'm thinking about that because of Uranus up here in your 7th house. And Uranus is now retrograde. And so you're going to be given second chances to go back and address significant relationship issues. And, you know, whilst the energy of both Saturn and Pluto and Uranus up here are there, you need to work with them constructively. Because when Saturn does leave your sign, does leave your 3rd house on the 29th, he will leave you with some kind of reward, some benefit. Saturn does like to do it. It's like a resolution. So if you've done the work well, if you've addressed this well, the resolution will be good. But if you've not, then the resolution may not be quite what you've been hoping for. And we have to look at Jupiter, that is also going direct this month. It goes direct on the 13th. And so it will travel back over this sort of Pluto-Saturn area. And Jupiter will either add a touch of sort of sparkle and magic to whatever you've been doing around communication and legal issues, anything like that. Or it will enlarge the problems for you to really finally sort them out. So let's move on though to your 5th house, because you've got a super full moon there on the 2nd of September in Pisces. And Pisces, of course, is all about your intuition and your just inner knowing about things. And the 5th house, creativity. And you've got a full moon there. So this is really going to make you feel, I think, much more in touch with what's good for you in a creative sense of how to play. Because, you know, maybe Scorpio, there's not been much time or opportunity to really just sit back and have some fun. So I think this full moon is saying, let's just, you know, put that to bed for the time being and just relax. And you see, and that is also nicely actually aspected by Uranus in your 7th house in Taurus. So, you know, there could be some unexpected nice surprises to do with children, to do with romance, and to do with anything that is creative. And then we need to look to your 11th house, where the new moon is on the 17th. And on the 17th, the new moon is trined in Virgo by Saturn and Pluto. So that's a good aspect. So that's helpful. So this is something about, it's like I have to keep going back to basics. But if we go back to the 3rd house and everything that is kind of represented by that in terms of anything that is official or legal, anything that is about careful communication and making sure you've got your point across, the new moon is saying, here is your opportunity to change all of that, to sow new seeds, to really kind of, because it's bringing in the energy of Saturn and Pluto trining it. So this is the area, the 11th house, of hopes and dreams and wishes. So it's really giving you an opportunity to set in place some new kind of heights, some new, it's like if you've got dreams that you haven't yet kind of focused on, you know, something you're very passionate about that you would really like to do. You know, I think there's an awful lot in your life at the moment, Scorpio, that you need to really put behind you, and you need to move on and actually start thinking about the new and thinking about what can be next year, because this new moon is giving you a beautiful opportunity to dream big and to dream broadly and to have the attention to how you actually put that into words, because it's Virgo, so attention to detail, how you put that into words to actually get your message across to the divine. So pretty good stuff actually, Scorpio. On that note, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me for your September astrology. And if you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd really love that. So that would be great. Thank you. Just click the subscribe button underneath the video. And also, if you would like a one-to-one with me for astrology or life coaching, my website address is underneath this video. And I would be more than happy to help guide you through your chart or through your life, or both. Okay, thanks a lot, Scorpio, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Hey, Sagittarius. Welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Sagittarius or for the Ascendant in Sagittarius. How's your finances? Because if you've not got them all in order, you've got it. This is like your final warning. This is your last chance to really tweak everything to do with your finances and anything to do with property and accruement and investments, because your 2nd house is Capricorn. And Capricorn has been where all the major action has been going on for you, Sagittarius. So it's been about property. It's been about, you know, Saturn and Pluto have really asked you to go through all the sort of your whole pot and actually assess what you keep and what you get rid of. Now, Saturn and Pluto are actually going to be virtually back to where they were together at the beginning of the year in January. So I want you to think back to what was happening around property issues and financial issues in January for you, because this is the sort of the final time they will really be in quite close connection before Saturn goes direct at the end of this month on the 29th. Then at that point, you see, what happens is when Saturn leaves, or when he starts moving away and back towards the next sign, he leaves some kind of gift, some benefit. So if you've paid attention to everything that has needed to be tweaked in this department, then it will be positive, especially because you've got Pluto there, which is all about transformation. And it feels like you're really sort of, you're going through your piggy bank and you're actually working out, hey, I'm not quite as bad as I thought I was, and actually I could do this, this and this and make it all work for me a lot better. Now, if you've been doing that, great. If not, then you better start doing it, because you've got kind of like a last chance to do this, but till the end of the year, let's say. Because also Jupiter is also going direct, and Jupiter goes direct on the 13th. And so you see, Jupiter will go back over all these points that both Pluto and Saturn have occupied. And basically what that does is, I like to see it as a bit like a sort of fairy dust being sprinkled on these points, because Jupiter can be a planet of huge good fortune and luck. But it's only if you've done what needs to be done in the first place. So if you've, in a sense, sown your seeds well in this department for you, this to do with finance and property, etc., then Jupiter will bring beneficial outcomes for you. But if you've not been good, then Jupiter can can expand the negative side of this. So you don't want negative equity. So basically, this is a really, really big opportunity whilst Saturn and Pluto are at this point to think back to January and how you want to tweak it further forward. Because I want to say that, because also you see we have Mars going retrograde, and Mars goes retrograde on the 9th in Aries, in your 5th house of creativity and fun and play. Now, you've got to be careful that you don't get, or you don't allow this Martian energy of action and fun and play to get in the way, because it's making a hard aspect to your 2nd house of money. And it might make you overlook or think, oh, it'll be fine. And actually, Sagittarius, remember, you are ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is your ruling planet. And you need to actually work favourably with Jupiter to get his benefits. So that's just a little by the way. Now, let's also look to your 4th house of home and family, because you have a lovely full moon there, Sagittarius, and that's going to be on the 2nd of September. And this one is beautifully trined by Jupiter, that is your ruling planet. So that's brilliant. So home life is really going to be, it feels like you will be feeling quite complete at home and quite kind of content with home life. And also Uranus, that made a difficult aspect to the August full moon and caused all that disruption we saw for the 2 weeks following that full moon. Uranus this time is making a kind aspect to the full moon in Pisces. And so any surprises at home will be nice surprises. And you I don't know, maybe someone's moving in or someone's moving out. Either way, whatever it is, it'll all be good. And then we actually also have to look to the new moon in your 10th house on the 17th. And this is about your work and status in the world. And I just wonder if you're thinking of changing your job or making some quite definite decisions about your future and how you're seen in the world. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, Sagittarius, because, you know, new things, and because you've got Virgo on your 10th house, that's really good for you, because it means you do pay attention to the detail. That's why you can make sure your money pot in the 2nd house is full to brimming. So use this energy wisely. I do see a better month, Sagittarius, a much more hopeful month. And in the meantime, thank you for joining me for your September astrology. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super thrilled if you could do that. Also, if you would like a one-to-one with me for astrology or for life coaching, and I can talk you through your chart and help you understand a bit more about how it can work so constructively in your life. And my website address is just underneath this video. But in the meantime, Sagittarius, I wish you a fabulous September, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now. Hey, Capricorn, welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Capricorn or for the Ascendant in Capricorn. Well, good news for you, Capricorn, because you've passed the test. You have passed the test of having Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter transiting your sign for a long time now. And the good news this month is that Saturn is going direct at the end of the month. So you've still got to wait a little bit longer for that. And Jupiter also goes direct. And what's the meaning of this? Well, let's unpack it, because you've had them going back and forwards in your first house of self and how you feel about you and how you present yourself to the world, how others experience you, quite frankly. And I think that's undergone some enormous changes if you've been working with the energies constructively. And what I want to point out this month is that both Saturn and Pluto are going to be virtually back to the same degree they were at in January of this year. So it would be helpful to kind of think about what was going on for you then in January, because there'll be some kind of resolution to that now, I feel. Because Saturn and Pluto are getting back to this angle. Now, Saturn is about rules, boundaries, structures, governments, order, and Pluto is about transformation. And I suspect that whatever you've been going through in the last few years, you are really going to reap the rewards of that now, because, you know, when Saturn does go direct, so that he finally leaves your house and which he rules and goes and makes his way towards Aquarius, where he will be from the end of the year, he does like to reward hard work. And Capricorn, you of all the signs know about hard work, and you're actually very good at it because you just get down and do it. And, you know, that's a really good quality, and I think envied by some of the other signs. And in fact, thank goodness it was you, Capricorn, that had the weight of these big boys in your sign, because I think it's actually served you well. It may not be serving the world well in an obvious sense at the moment, because I think there's a lot of unrest and people are very unhappy about maybe how the virus has been handled in their respective countries. They're unhappy about attacks on freedom. That will shift, and it will certainly shift for you, Capricorn. Now, let's just move on to the full moon and the new moon for this month in September, because you've got a full moon in Pisces on the 2nd of September. And if you remember, the last full moon was in August, did have a really difficult angle from Uranus. And we saw the events that unfolded over the 2 weeks following that new moon, for like the first two and a bit weeks of August. And it was really quite dramatic. There was a lot of civil unrest. There were a lot of unexpected and shocking events and developments that took place. And that was because Uranus was making a square to the full moon. Now this time, the full moon is being sextiled by Uranus, and that's a much more gentle sign aspect. And so surprises for you, especially in the area to do with communication, contracts, anything that's been dragging on that really needs to be kind of sorted now, Uranus will help that. And Uranus will actually just shed his kindly kind of revolutionary aspect into it, because Uranus is quite revolutionary. But also Jupiter trines this full moon. So Jupiter, of course, is in your sign of Capricorn. And so that is actually going to help quite a lot to just ease the passage for anything that is outstanding to do with documents and contracts, Capricorn. Now let's just look at the new moon, because the new moon is in Virgo in your 9th house. Well, your 9th house is about travel, higher learning, all things connected with inner travels as well. And the new moon, I feel for you, because it is trined by Saturn and Pluto, which is a very helpful sign. Remember, Saturn and Pluto will still be quite conjunct at that point. So I think this new moon is about whatever was set in place for you in January, whatever was around you at that time. This is a time to sow the seeds, to make things different, see things differently, and do things differently, helped by that energy of the new moon in your 9th house of Virgo. So, because Virgo is about attention to detail, and actually Capricorn is about detail as well. It does like structure and order. So it's about going back to that. And I think that is going to be actually very helpful for you. Before I finish, I just want to mention about Mars going through Aries in quite a sort of retrograde way now. So there's so much activity in your home. It's just going to be busy, busy, busy. But anyway, I really wish you well, Capricorn. Thank you so much for joining me for your September astrology. And if you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super happy if you could. And if you'd like a one-to-one for astrology or life coaching, my website link is just under this video. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next month. Bye, Capricorn. Hey, Aquarius. Welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Aquarius or for the Ascendant. I'm going to go straight to your 12th house, Aquarius, because you've had the big boys, Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter, there for several years. And they are really putting you through the ringer in terms of your psyche and your inner world. And I think it's felt quite depressing and quite restrictive at times. And it's been quite hard for you to, in a sense, face your demons. This would have been, and hopefully you've done this, a perfect time to seek external help from, you know, a really good coach or counselor or therapist. And because Saturn and Pluto are going to be virtually back at the same degree they were at the beginning of January, I just want to bring that into your attention, because you need to think about what's going on, what was going on for you in January. Because if that didn't get resolved, Saturn and Pluto are giving you another opportunity to really resolve that and really find the gold in the muddy pond, because it's like our inner world is almost like that sort of sludgy pond. But remember, lotuses grow from beautiful sort of muddy beginnings. And Saturn, because this is the last time he's going to be at this degree, and he's now going to go direct on the 29th of September and head towards your sign, Aquarius. So he will leave you with a parting gift. If you've done the work well, then it will be a great reward, because you will really have benefited and blossomed from the work you will have done on your inner psyche. Now, if you fought that, if you found it quite difficult to do this and resisted it, you may find that there are things that will happen to you in your life that will, in a sense, urge you to do this inner work before Saturn finally leaves your sign, finally leaves Capricorn and goes into your sign at the end of the year. Now, Jupiter is also going direct this month, and Jupiter goes direct on the 13th. So Jupiter expands everything it touches. It's also a planet of luck. So Jupiter's been giving you a golden opportunity to really understand yourself in a way that perhaps you've never actually been able to do before, Aquarius. And so as he goes over these various points, as he makes his passage towards your sign, Aquarius, at the end of the year, use that in a very constructive way, because remember, the sign of Capricorn, your 12th house, is about structure and rules and logic. And so, you know, I think they are urging you to really work with this energy in a constructive way and do that self-work and do the self-development, because it will change your life dramatically. And then you can sit back and really enjoy the benefits of Aquarius, of Saturn in Aquarius at the end of the year in your first house. Now, let's look to the full moon and the new moon this month, because on the 2nd of September, we have a full moon in Pisces, and this is actually in your second house of finance and property. So if there have been any issues around property and contracts and sorting things out to do with investments, these will reach a sort of a culmination. They will really reach a solution. They will be completed. So this is, and also I want to say that this time Uranus, that aspected the full moon in August so negatively, and we saw the results of that in the 2 weeks that followed the full moon in August, because we got you know, a lot of shocks and upsets and civil unrest. Now this time Uranus in Taurus is actually sextiling the full moon, and that's a really nice energy. And this will bring, if there are benefits to come through whatever contracts you're working on, or completion to do with money things, this will bring perhaps lucky bonuses or sort of unexpected good things, because it is also trined by Jupiter, and Jupiter's the planet of luck. So we all need good news, Aquarius. So then let's just go to the new moon, which is in your 8th house of other people's money and investments. It can also be inheritance and, you know, sort of anything to do with other people's money. So the new moon in Virgo, Virgo is about attention to detail. The 8th house for you is a Virgo house, and the new moon is showing us that there are going to be new opportunities to you know, new benefits coming from other people's money. So you may have an inheritance, you may have you know, just benefits from investments that maybe you'd even forgotten about. But it's worth going back and having a look at those, Aquarius, because they could be quite lucrative. So thank you so much for coming to watch your September astrology. And if you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super thrilled if you could do that. That would be really kind. Thank you. And if you'd like a one-to-one for astrology or for live coaching, then my website address where you can contact me is just beneath this video. So until next time, thank you, Aquarius, and I really wish you a good month. Bye for now. Hey, Pisces. Welcome to your September astrology for the Sun in Pisces or for the Ascendant in Pisces. So I'm going to go straight to your 11th house of hopes and wishes and dreams and extended groups of people and, you know, extended friend groups. And because it's Capricorn for you, which is about structure and stability, and we have, of course, got Saturn, Pluto and Jupiter have been here for quite a while now, quite a few years. And they've completely changed the whole structure of the way you see your life unfolding, I think, in terms of what dreams you had a few years ago are completely different from the ideas you've got at the moment about what you would like to achieve in your life. Now, the big news this month is that Saturn is going direct. Saturn goes direct in your 11th house in Capricorn on the 29th of September. But before that, I want you to think back to what was happening in January for you around your hopes and wishes and dreams and anything you might have been doing with larger groups of people, because Saturn and Pluto are back at the same degree they were at then. Now, I think because Mars is actually making quite a challenging aspect to our big boys in your 11th house, I suspect that you're really going to have to sort of dig a bit deeper, in a sense, to find the gold, because when Saturn and Pluto have this final kind of loose meeting in your 11th house this month, they are giving you an opportunity to really reap the rewards of what you set in place. Now, if you set it in place on firm foundations, then it will succeed, because Jupiter is there. And Jupiter is there, and Jupiter is going direct on the 13th as well. So Jupiter will go back over these points and sprinkle his kind of lucky dust and really kind of bring some hope and inspiration to anything you've done project-wise with big groups of people. So this is really exciting for you, Pisces. And I want to now talk about the full moon in your sign in Pisces. And this is on the 2nd of September. And it's always lovely to have a full moon in our own sign, because it's about you. It's about how you feel about yourself, how people experience you in the world. And, you know, full moon's nice, and full moon in Pisces brings in the energy of that intuitive part of you, that psychic side of you that just knows about certain things. And I think you're going to be feeling quite empowered by this full moon and very optimistic about what's to come for you. Also, because this particular full moon is sextiled, which is a very kind aspect, a helpful aspect, by Uranus. Now, Uranus is the planet of upsets and shocks and revolution. Now, we saw what happened in August at the full moon, when the full moon was squared, which is a very difficult, challenging angle by Uranus. We got shocks, explosions, unexpected events, and civil unrest. Now, by contrast to that, Pisces, this Uranus aspect is kind. And so any surprises you get should be good ones, should be nice ones. And also, it's actually trined by Jupiter. So that's a really kindly aspect. So I think that will, really bring in some good news for you, Pisces. Let's also go straight away, though, to your 7th house of significant others and relationships, because you've got a lovely new moon there on the 17th. And that is also trine Saturn and Pluto. So I think seeds that you sowed to do with your significant other in relationships, or your soulmate, round about January, I think this is giving you a second chance to look again at how you want to breathe a breath of fresh air into your relationship and to make it the best that it can possibly be. And, you know, because your 7th house is Virgo, Virgo is about attention to detail. And, you know, maybe you need to actually spoil your loved one a bit. Perhaps you've been so caught up with what you're doing with all these groups in the 11th house that you've neglected your significant life partner. So I think it's about giving a little bit of attention to that. But you know what, Pisces? Things are on the move. Things are improving. They will improve for all the signs as we get through towards next year. So for now, I want to wish you very well. I want to say thank you for coming to watch this video about September. And if you've not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd be super thrilled if you could do that. Also, if you would like a one-to-one with me for astrology or for life coaching, then please go to my website. The address is just underneath the video, and it would be really, really great to work with you. Thanks a lot, Pisces. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.